Mantis Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time for us to finish our guide to the Pathfinder role-playing game system, where I've been going over everything in the player's book. After this episode, well, we'll talk about what we're going to do at the end of it. But let's finish up with the main core book, core rule book. Still some more conditions to talk about, which you should know about in order to, well, encounter them. First off, invisible. Well, of course, if you're invisible, you are out of sight. Effectively, anything that's using visual-based senses to try to detect you can't see you. They don't know you're there. I, as the invisible creature, get +2 to hit my target, and my target is denied their dexterity bonus to AC. They don't see it coming. Now, nauseated means your stomach's feeling horrible distress. You're about to, throw up at all times. You can't attack when you're nauseated. You can't cast spells. You can't do anything that requires your concentration or your ability to retain your attention. When you're nauseated, the only thing you can do is a single move action each turn. Now, panicked means that you're so filled with fear, you just have to leave. The source of the panic causes you to flee from it. You drop everything you're holding, you just have to run, you can't do anything else. And if you see something else that's a danger to you, you have to run from that too. You just have to flee. And when you flee in a random direction. While you are fleeing, you have -2 to saves, skill checks, and ability checks. Now, should you get cornered, backed into a corner, you are just going to sit there cowering, trying to keep away from them. You can take a total defense. That is the action you can take to in order to defend yourself. To a degree, means you can't attack back. Means I can only be like, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me. And if I have some kind of spell or special effect that would help me flee in this situation, I'm going to use it to get away as best I can. You have to use it, because escape is your only option, and you're going to take it. Now, when you're paralyzed, you're frozen in place. You can't move at all. Your strength and dexterity are both 0, and you are helpless. Now, this doesn't mean you can't do anything. Your strength and dex might be 0, you might be frozen in place, but you can do mental actions. Anything that requires just your mind, you are able to take during this period of time. Now, if you're a creature with wings and you were flying, guess what? You're no longer using them to fly. You will probably fall. If you were swimming and you become paralyzed, you will sink. You won't be able to swim anymore, and that might result in drowning. I mean, the falling might result in death too, depending on how high you were up in the time. Now, you can move through the space of someone that's paralyzed, both friend or foe, but it requires you 2 squares of movement in order to do it. It's a little more difficult to kind of navigate around the person that's frozen up like this. Now, petrified. I've turned to stone. When you are petrified, you are effectively unconscious. You can't do anything. You're just sitting there. The thing is, if any kind of damage is dealt to the stone version of you, as long as the pieces or chips are put back into place when you return back to normal, you fuse all back together. But here's a big caveat to this. If, let's say, I lost my arm when I was a statue, and people turn it back and my arm wasn't near me, well, I don't have it anymore. So, damage that was dealt to you during your time as a statue can reflect as damage to you when you're returned back to normal, or debilitation, if you lost limbs or things like that. You will not have those limbs anymore. It will be unpleasant. Now, when you're pinned, you're held tightly. This is a more extreme version of grappling, so it does not stack with grappling. When I am pinned, I am limited what I can do. I have -4 to my AC, on top of being flat-footed. And the main action I can take is to attempt to escape. Whether this is a combat maneuver check or an escape artist check, that's what I'm going to be trying to do. Break out of this pin that I'm held tight in. Now, while I'm pinned, I can do verbal actions, or actions that require thought. I can't use anything that requires hands, so I could cast a verbal spell, but one with somatic or material components, which I'd have to reach and grab to. Well, I can't do those types of spells. Should I have a verbal spell only that I could particularly cast, I still need to make a concentration check. 10 plus the pinner's CMB plus the level of the spell, which can be pretty high, meaning it can still be very difficult to actually cast a spell while pinned. Now, if I'm prone, I'm lying on the ground. I've been knocked down. I have -4 to all my attacks, and that's particularly melee attacks, with one exception. Most ranged attacks I can't do while prone. The exception, crossbow. Still get that -4, but I can twang, crossbow someone. Now, if I'm lying prone, my AC is altered. Against ranged attacks, I get +4. It's hard to hit a opponent lying down on the ground with a bow. But against melee attacks, I get -4. It's easy to stab me. So you can see there's a big difference between these two. You want to get ranged attacked while you're prone, not melee attack. I could pop back up, stand up as a move action, but it will provoke an attack of opportunity. Now, shaken is the least form of frightened. You're like, oh god, oh, that just spooked me. While I'm shaken, I get -2 to attack, -2 to saves, -2 to skill checks, and -2 to ability checks. So I am kind of like, oh, off guard a little bit because I'm shaken. Sickened is a little lesser than nausea. I'm like, I don't feel very good. In this case, I get -2 to attacks, damage, saves, skills, and ability checks. So of the minor conditions, sickened is the worst you can have. Now, stable. Well, stable occurs while I had gone into a condition of dying, and now I am not dying. I'm no longer losing hit points. I'm at negative hit points, but I am stable. I'm still unconscious when I'm in this stable condition, but I might still have a chance of dying. Now, if someone else helped me reach stable, either using some cure magic or heal skill, got me into a position where I'm still at negatives, I never reached that negative equal to my constitution, which would have been death, but I haven't reached positives yet, well, I'm stable, and I can recover on my own because they helped me out. Every hour I'm still unconscious, I make a constitution check DC 10. Similar to when I was trying to get to the stable condition, trying to stabilize from dying, I get a penalty of this equal to the negatives in hit points I currently am. Meaning this could be a very difficult check to accomplish to actually survive. But failure means nothing. I just can continue to check. There is a difference, though, when we talk about you stabilized on your own, without help. If you made that stabilization check on your own at some point in time, I'm stable, I'm no longer dying, here's where the big kicker comes in. Those checks made to start to recover, to start to heal again, which is what that constitution check is, every hour, to heal on your own naturally. Well, if I fail it, I lose a hit point. This is only when no one helped me to stabilize. I did it on my own. If they'd helped me stabilize, I don't have to worry about losing that hit point. But if I would make my constitution check with the appropriate penalties, I stabilize. I begin to heal naturally. When you do make that check, you are now disabled and conscious, though. That's an important note. So I might still be at, let's say, -5. But if I made that check, I'm awake, I'm disabled, meaning if I act, I would lose another. If I do a lot of actions, as we said before, I'd lose those hit points, but I can at least feed myself and start to recover naturally. Now, staggered means you're in a kind of a little bit of hurt. You're like kind of put off guard a little bit. When I'm staggered, I can only take a move or a standard action, not both. And I cannot take full round actions. Now, if I had an immediate action or a swift action, I could still do those, but my normal action, my turn, is either a standard or move. The most traditional time when you become staggered is when you have non-lethal damage equal to your current hit points. When they two are equal, I'm staggered. Now, if I become stunned, it means something has hit me, and it's got me into a position where I'm like, ugh! I drop what I'm holding, I get -2 to my AC, I lose my dex bonus to my AC. I'm for a second. Then, of course, I can recover and pick up my stuff if I needed to. And finally, the last one I want to talk about is unconscious. You're just that. You're helpless, you're not awake, you're knocked out. This can be a result of a couple of different things. The main two ways, at negative hit points, then yeah, you're unconscious. You're not awake, you can't do anything, your conscious mind has left you, you're just lying there helpless. The other way is if my non-lethal damage exceeds my current HP. That means there's this fine line between normal, staggered, and unconscious. when it comes to non-lethal damage. You drop down, you're unconscious, you can't do anything until you recover that non-lethal damage up below your current HP, and, well, you wake up then. But that's it for today. So I finished up talking about the conditions. In the next episode, I'm going to start my latest series when it comes to Pathfinder, the Pathfinder Race Guide. And I will note here, this is not going to be your standard races. I'm going to avoid the races that were in the core book and go on to all the other races that are out there, because there's a lot of them that we want to talk about playing as. If people really feel like it, I might do special guides on things like humans or the like. Maybe some of their subversions, sub-races. We'll find out. But I hope you're having a great day, and until the next time, I bid you farewell.